Welcome to the Coach Toolbox. This podcast is for coaches, leaders, and learners at all levels in organizations and in all walks of life. Here, you will get just-in-time learning that is research-based and practice-focused. The goal is personal and professional mastery. And now, our session today. Hi, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's episode. And today's episode is especially for finance professionals, where we have NITIN Shingala, who is going to talk about success strategies for finance professionals. Now, if you're not a finance professional, I request you to stay on with us because some of these things would definitely have application to non-finance folks also. But especially we want to talk to and welcome finance professionals today. So we really have an amazing guest with us. And so let me tell you a little bit about NITIN Shingala. He's a chartered accountant with 30 years of experience, and he's currently the tax partner with Deloitte India, and he's been with them for the last 5 years. Before that, Nitin was MD of the TMF group. He's been an All India merit rank holder in the final and inter CA exams. He's got amazing experience in all aspects of finance. He's been the past president of the Bombay Chartered Accountants Society. Currently, he's the chairman of their Technology Initiative Committee, a frequent speaker at seminars, author of 2 books on taxation, visiting faculty at some of the top colleges in Mumbai, and so much more. I'll put up a link to his background, LinkedIn background on the podcast description because what I have said doesn't do justice. So Nitin, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ajay, for that very kind and generous introduction.
It is absolute. And the good news is we know Nitin well because we've had the amazing pleasure of having Nitin being one of our coaching students, and he's completed his 125 hours program with us, awaiting his PCC credential in the very, very near future. So that's my way of sort of edging him on a little bit.
Wanted to say that, Ajay, that was really a lovely time I had, and it added definitely a dimension. It expanded my thinking process, and the coaching training that I underwent with you and Leena definitely helped me think better. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. So coming back to success strategies for finance, Nitin, typically finance folks are seen as conservative, they're seen as risk averse. And so sometimes they may not have the glamour that is associated with the marketing profession or engineering professions. You know, they are the folks who people say, Arey, they always say no to anything, everything. So why do people have these perceptions of finance people?
That's a very good question, Ajay. And what happens is that, during the training to qualify as a chartered accountant, we need to deal with preparation of financial statements, where accountants need to factor in so many uncertainties and estimates. So one of the fundamental principle that we are taught is of prudence and conservatism. So, when we have to do the estimates or some valuation, we have to always be prudent and conservative. We are also instrumental in ensuring internal controls and risk mitigation for most organizations, or evaluating or certifying them. So from that, it actually impacts the temperament of most finance professionals. In fact, I recall this joke where there was a question, how can you tell if an accountant is an extrovert? Well, he looks at your shoes instead of looking at his own. And that's But I was surprised when a friend of mine told me that there aren't many books that talk about success secrets of CFOs, for example. There are several books for various professions, and they lay down guide map and success mantras for those specific professions. But when it comes to CFOs specific to India, we don't have that many books or publications talking about it. So that's the situation we have.
All right. So that's an area of opportunity that we have opened up, Nitin. And I'm sure that today we are sowing the seeds for this book on success secrets to become a CFO, in the near future, that you will be able to pen something like this. So you've spoken about the fact that by training and background and by nature of their work, finance folks are more prudent, they are more conservative. So as they move into their careers, so they have set up the foundation maybe 10 years after their CA qualification, what are some of the challenges that the finance professionals face once they have sort of settled into their careers?
And being a chartered accountant, I'll typically speak of CAs. There are MBAs also who get into finance profession, and maybe they also experience somewhat similar. And the issue and challenge that comes is the CA education curriculum requires too much of learning. Most of it is rote learning. But at the end of the day, when a person qualifies as a chartered accountant, there is a huge relief, and that at times results into most of them saying enough of studies, now let's go to the real life. But you know what, real life requires the learning to continue with more vigor. We are in an ever evolving world, not just in respect of laws, regulation, but also technology and management principles. So that's challenge one. The second challenge I find is that most of the time the CA curriculum focuses on technical aspects. The entire training program requires a person to work in individual capacity. When it comes to real life, people have to work in team, and team performance is what is most important. And there is a gap. The third area which I find they lag in is about technology. Most of their learning in respect of technology is on the job, and as a result, they are not on top of technology also. And when they get into the day to day technical job or routine, they don't get to see a bigger picture. They don't have a clarity about their career management, and the mid career crisis, so to say, kicks in. And that is something which we have seen with many friends and acquaintances who get trapped into doing the same work over and over again and don't rise beyond a particular point.
All right. So ongoing learning. So you're just now actually starting to put the action plan even for success. That means to focus on ongoing learning, to focus on how to become a team player, and to focus on smart career management strategies. Any other challenges that are there?
Yeah, so the challenges again is, in terms of at times people don't take chances, they don't take risks in life, in career. You can't have a very curated career path. You have to take chances, and you have to rise to the occasion. You have to actually widen your horizon and go beyond current jobs. Those are again areas where typically, you see opportunities for improvement for most professionals.
What an excellent way of saying it. A curated career path. No? So, and today's conditions, today's market, definitely a curated career path is not on the cards. So, in addition to some of these challenges that are there as part of their training and background, and perhaps the way they get set in the first decade or so of their life, what are some things that get them stuck in the role or job and then makes them part of this finance stereotype?
So there was very interesting observation that I came across when it came to maybe my father and that generation. They had one education and one job, and therefore that is what sustained their entire life. They succeeded to a great extent, and it helped them. When it comes to possibly your and my generation, we have one qualification, but maybe few more jobs. So, during our career, we would see working at, three or four or maybe sometimes more organizations. The current generation, I believe, would find it very difficult to even continue with that strategy. What I see is clearly people will have many education and many jobs. It would be very difficult for people to take their job for granted, their organization for granted. And the question they need to continuously ask is, what is the value addition I'm doing? What is the impact I'm delivering? Because, with automation, with simplification, there are many areas where the current job opportunities which are there as of today may or may not remain. So this is one area which I feel is very important for finance professionals to focus on.
So it really is about starting to change one's mindset from that one qualification, one job, one story, one organization, and what else therefore. So this is one thing they need to do to start becoming unstuck. What else?
So, in order to start managing their career, and especially, they need to look at the wider view of the business. So, for example, if I'm looking at preparing a financial statement, or if I'm doing a small task, which is part of a larger process, then I need to understand what is the entire value chain that is happening. And can I develop a wider view of the business? We have seen many examples where several CFOs have actually transgressed in their career CEO of organizations. In fact, I have a friend whom I have known for nearly 20 plus years. He used to also have a small CA practice, and one of his client was a multinational company which he helped advise them to set up shop in India, and he prepared their business plan, and the client liked him so much that they offered him a job. So from being a auditor, tax advisor, he turned into a CFO for that company. But guess what? Within 10 years, this friend of mine has became actually the CEO of that company. And thereafter, he's been CEO of several publicly listed companies in technology space. And today, he is a name to reckon with when it comes to forums such as NASCOM and many other technology organizations. In fact, we have one other example of the CFO of TCS, Rajesh Gopinathan, rising and
Mhm.
becoming CEO today when N. Chandra was made the Tata Sons chairman. So there are several examples that we can take inspiration from. But one of the most important, area where they need to remain focused on is to find a right mentor. What I also believe that in our days, maybe we didn't have coaching as easily available in those days, maybe 25 years ago, as compared to today. And I believe that if I had that coaching guidance available, maybe my career could have taken a different trajectory. But guess what? I'm happy with what I have done. But I believe that this is one area where the young professionals need to be very, very mindful. They need to find a right mentor and a coach so that they can actually think aloud, think sharper, and take right decisions and align their actions.
That's very inspiring. So, if I were a young finance professional, what I have heard is that I need not be stuck at a finance level. I can actually move to CFO level. And now, even after hitting CFO, I'm not stuck there. But right now, there are examples, lots of examples of CFOs becoming CEOs. Whereas in the old days, one of the perceptions was essentially mostly the marketing guys became CEOs. So, this is very inspiring, Nitin. And therefore, now I want to think, how do I start? Where do I start? So, I'm inspired. I know I can do this. How do I do it?
So, it is very important to understand what are the competencies that are required to develop. I believe that any successful professional needs a right combination of knowledge, skills, and attitude. And believe me, only knowledge is not sufficient. I have seen many friends or examples where a person was academically very brilliant, so knowledge wise they were the best of the lot. They are not as successful as they should be. So knowledge alone is not sufficient. Along with that, one needs to develop a set of skills which are important in their job, in their career, and also, of course, behaviors and attitude that they need to be aware about. But one important requirement is to stand up, raise your hand, and take up a challenge. That's very important. At any given point of time, if there is a ask, if there is a challenge, we need to stand up and accept it. That's one way. I've seen so many examples where a person thrown into a crisis has overcome that crisis so well and become successful. I can think of one particular CFO who today is CFO of the largest conglomerate of India. And I remember one of the interviews he mentioned that he is essentially joined one of the financial institution in their marketing. And when there was this finance position that came up, and there was nobody within the immediate group to take up that role, he raised his hand and he said, "ठीक है, चलो करके देख लेते हैं." And today he is the CFO of the largest private enterprise in India.
Wow. So, first thing is to step out, raise your hand, take up the challenge. What else?
Yeah, so that's very important to stay out of your or to step out of your comfort zone, because most of the time one finds that people get within that, they remain within their comfort zones, they don't step out, and therefore that hampers their career move. There are hesitations, lack of aspirations, and those are again factors that is important. Second is, you need to understand what is your role, how does it impact the business, and how does it impact people, because that is what matters. When you start rising up the chain, your job is not just to do the job, but your job is to get the job done. In fact, I am at times confused when people say, okay, this is an HR matter, refer it to the HR person. I strongly believe that every manager has to be an HR person. You can't just delegate. Yes, of course, some of the HR processes can be delegated to a specialist HR team, but in day-to-day life, every manager is an HR person. So developing those people skills is one very important area. And what I find is finance people typically lack the people skills. So that's one very important area for finance professionals to realize and work upon.
To focus on developing people skills. What else?
I think they need to continuously remain focused on is, of course, the technology. We are now getting into an area where there is a huge already demonstrated technologies that replace men. There are examples where financial earning reports, which used to be written by journalists, are now being written by an artificial intelligence driven algorithms. Even weather forecasts, sports reports get written by the algorithm. Within even finance space, there are a lot of these RPAs and sophisticated software that are eliminating a number of jobs. Now, I strongly believe that with increasing expanse of the technology, the role of individuals is going to become more important, because ultimately you need to have people managing the technology. And so if you don't have the technology skills, you don't understand that particular area, you would be definitely outdated. And we at Deloitte have come out with what we call as power of width, which is basically to say that when digital transformation is here and it's impacting, say, specifically tax and legal departments, we need to have people working with machines to harness data, automate execution of rote tasks, ensure compliance in real time, and free themselves to add greater value within their organizations. So it not only transforms how work gets done, but it also transforms the talent needed to do it.
All right, I get that. So the importance of technology and being up with technology and leveraging technology to take take one's contribution to a higher level.
So, one very interesting question I ask my team members is, you're doing some task and you do it day in and day out. Is this a task? If it is being done by a manager, my ask to manager is, do you need to do this? Can you delegate this to the assistant manager? Then my ask to assistant manager is, what are the tasks that you need to continue to do? Can you delegate them down? And so they say that, okay, these are the tasks we can delegate down to executives. And then the ask is, hey, executive, why do you need to do this task? And of course, this is to be led by the manager, this conversation. But the ultimate aim is, if an executive is doing some task manually, can this be automated? So delegate or automate. These are the two important options that need to be examined. And that is how you actually get rid of your day-to-day work in a more efficient manner, and then you have time and energy to focus on a lot of value-added stuff that you can do for your organizations.
All right. And this has to be the way finance folks need to start looking at their jobs, their in terms of increasing their competencies. What else can they do to now start applying these competencies or developing these competencies and putting them into practice?
So, finance is the only role that touches every function within an organization, be it sales and marketing that you mentioned, in a manufacturing environment, production, or in service organization, delivery, and so on. So, finance has to be a business partner instead of just a number cruncher. Today, in many organizations, they outsource finance and accounts function itself. And what used to be typically a control mindset kind of a relationship suddenly changes into a client relationship. So earlier, within an organization, for example, people used to be a bit more afraid of the finance folks saying, okay, he'll ask questions on the budget, on certain approvals and so on, and therefore there was that different attitude in that relationship. But when it comes to same set of work which is outsourced to an external organization, the whole relationship becomes more of a client service provider relationship. You track the KPIs, key performance indicators, there are turnaround time, and so the whole mindset is that of ensuring customer is the king. Now, for finance folks, they have to understand that they are a support function in most situations, and therefore their job is to enable the business. And therefore, they need to become a business partner instead of just remaining a finance compliance person. I would also give analogy to that of cricket. In the cricket game of cricket, we've remembered for donkey's years, there used to be scorekeepers and commentators in good old days on radio, or later on even black and white television used to turn to scorekeepers to give us the updated scores, some bare bones statistics. Compare that to today's world where the whole cricket statistics um, a big analytics. You slice and dice every ball, every delivery, every shot to so many different angles that you see a very different picture, and that actually helps the cricket team to analyze their performance, develop action plan to play a better game. I believe that the finance role has to be similar, and they need to make sure that their organization come up with winning action plan.
So once again, what you're saying is, in addition to the technical expertise and technical expertise, also they need to raise their game on that. But it really comes down to really developing people skills, because they need to function as business partners or client service relationship managers. And you also spoke about the importance of finance interacting with marketing and factory and all. So why is it important for finance professionals to develop cross-functional expertise?
So, absolutely. And that's the reason, because finance ultimately touches every function. It's the lifeblood of business, right? I mean, without finance, business would not exist. And they need to understand how the finance impacts the business. As I mentioned earlier, there are only two impact that one can do when you are part of an organization. The impact at the organization, the business level, and to the people. And in both parameters, they need to be outstanding. And so to understand that, when it comes to sales, what that entire cycle of sales is, or for that matter, the production, and how the finance is then touching at various different aspects when it comes to, for example, sale. There are a lot of decisions that the sales team need to make, and most decisions have finance implications, and therefore the role of finance becomes important. But when a finance person gets involved into that discussion, if he doesn't understand the other side of the coin, which is the sales part of it, then the inputs that he may give may not necessarily be the most appropriate ones. And therefore, it becomes very important for the finance person to develop these cross-functional expertise so that he can understand and evaluate from finance perspective, what would work best from the other perspective.
Anything else that's coming up for you?
I think, the bottom line that comes is, one needs to learn constantly. One needs to find newer ways of working in collaboration. And so those are most important keys to succeeding in the profession.
And as you see the finance profession over the next 5 or 10 years, what are some changes that professionals, finance folks need to be prepared for?
So, in the age of the technology, most of us are now adapting to new way of working, which is mostly remote. And in this entire era, what I find is some of the basic human elements will still remain most important. So, for example, trust. Important it is to develop trust for your leaders into you and the people that you interact with in you in turn. And how do you earn trust? How do you win trust of all your colleagues, all your business partners? Is again a key to the success, because while we talk about technical competencies and people competencies, the fundamental factor that can actually make or break is how are you in terms of how is your score in terms of trust. I remember the trust equation that you explain that has been developed by David Meister. uh, I also remember someone saying that trust and integrity are either 100% or 0%. There is no in between. So those are very important fundamental qualities that we still need to regard as most sacrosanct.
So, Nitin, as we bring our conversation to a close, you've had an amazing career. Any secrets or tips which have helped you that you can share with our finance professionals?
I think being grounded all the time is very helpful. So while people rise up in ladder, at times they lose touch with the reality or ground level work. That is very important, and so that you remain connected, you remain grounded. And the other part is to connect to the communities and contribute to the larger society. I think that's one very important aspect that helps a professional to grow in their career. To give you my example, at some point of time, when I was looking for how I could learn more, I got connected with an amazing organization called Bombay Chartered Accountant Society, which today is 70 plus years of existence, contributing to the profession. And the way I got more intimate with this BCS, as we call it, was when I did a program at Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management, organized by BCS, and that's how I got close. And I realized that volunteering with BCS was so much of fun, and organizing training programs, even writing articles, or taking some of the workshops, made me evolve as a better professional. Apart from BCS, my wife and I have been involved with a couple of NGOs. And when you actually interact with the society at a different platform, I think your own horizons widen so much. And the society always gives you back much more than you contribute in ways you can't imagine. And therefore, I think connecting with communities and doing your own contribution is one key factor for anyone to succeed.
That is awesome. So, to really focus on joining the society, professional societies, to connecting with them, contributing, and doing volunteer work, being part of NGOs. So lots of important ideas and action plans you've suggested so that we can take our careers to the next level. Any books or any other resources that you could recommend that might help us?
Several. I think, again, constant reading is what helps you think better. And one of the key book I came across was The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli. And that's a fantastic book, which actually, in a very lucid manner, comes up with various our thinking fallacies that we carry in our day-to-day life, and which, once we realize, we can overcome them. Um, Rolf Dobelli is also co-founder of this great website service called Get Abstract. And GetEp comes out with summaries of all the books, relevant books that we find. And so they come up with this summaries. We at Deloitte are subscribers to this. So every week I get summary of one book, and that helps me get introduced to the new books. And where I find it important, I then get the whole book and go through it. I think any professional who's in profession and otherwise also should read David Meister. We keep talking about, when it comes to management, the names such as Peter Drucker, Philip Kotler are most widely known. But David Meister, whose focus has been more on professional services, is not as much known. And as I mentioned earlier, he's co-authored the book The Trusted Advisor. He's also written a book called Managing a Professional Services Firm. So a professional like me, who are partners or owners of professional services firm, would find great value out of books written by David Meister. But more importantly, in terms of contemporary knowledge, I follow key handles on Twitter because the world is evolving day to day. There are insights that we get. So the likes of Nicholas Nassim Taleb or Nouriel Rubini, and within India, there are quite a few handles that I follow, and that's my daily dose of refresh.
Excellent. Thank you. I think David Meister, I think it's spelled Maister.
That's right.
So, two books by David Meister. One is The Trusted Advisor and Managing Professional Services. I think it's a must read for everybody in professional services firms, in consulting, in all the firms, really. Anybody involved in client relationship management would benefit from reading these books. So, Nitin, a closing message, a closing statement to encourage our finance folks.
I think, finance is always going to be paramount. It's the lifeblood of any organization. And so, while a lot of other functions would find that suddenly they lose relevance in this kind of dynamic time, the role of finance and importance of finance is always going to remain. But then, within that finance function, the way it has been done so far is changing very rapidly. And as I have mentioned, I reiterate that it is very important for finance professionals to continue to evolve themselves, innovate themselves, and also get a good mentor and a guide, a coach that can help them navigate their career throughout.
Thank you so much. I think what you have shared with us, Nitin, is really, while we have used finance as a specific focus area, the material that you have shared, the input that you have given is absolute gold and would be relevant for professionals across the board and not just finance. And, Nitin is an amazing coach, in addition to having this sterling track record in finance. So if there is a finance professional who would want a coach or mentor, why don't you check out Nitin on LinkedIn and see if he would be open to being a mentor or a coach for you. So I've not got Nitin's permission to say this. I just too excited about it. So many bol diya hai. So forgive me, Nitin, if you're flooded. But if you want a coach or a mentor, I don't think you could get a better person than Nitin. So Nitin, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of our show, and we look forward to more interactions with you.
It's been pleasure, Ajay, talking to you and sharing my thoughts. And I'm more than happy to help anyone who needs any coaching or guidance in their career, pursuing their career in finance.
That is awesome. And that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Please connect with us on coachtoolbox@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and review this channel. Details of our ICF-approved coach training programs and our services as executive coaches and coaching supervisors are on www.globalcoachtrust.org. See you in our next session.